Guys, welcome back. Aloha. It is Gabe from the Search for Tiki. It is officially October 1st. We've waited a year to get back to 13 Nights of Tiki Frights, but this is our fourth season. We've interviewed 40 guests in the past. We're excited to keep the train rolling and talk to one of my favorite mug makers, Pie Eyed Tikis, tonight, who made this mug. Inside this mug is also a cocktail made with plantation rum. Plantation rum is one of our sponsors, and this cocktail was designed by Mixing Up Tiki, Andy, who's a local friend here in New England, who made 13 cocktails for us. So the recipe for that is on our Instagram. Please check it out. Feel free to make it. It's a riff on a Mai Tai. With that said, I don't want to dilly-dally. I want to talk to Pie Eyed Tiki. So we're going to work on getting him in here. We'll be back in just a second. There he is. What's happening?
Aloha. Aloha.
It's good to see you,
aloha.
buddy. It is the
No
very
time to
first
dilly-dally,
night.
man. Let's get to it, right?
It's the very first night of 13 Nights of Tiki Frights, and you're our first guest, Pie Eyed Tikis. I'm stoked to have you here, dude.
We're so appreciative of you guys, even thinking of us to come, man. Thank you so much.
Oh, of course, dude. Of course. Hey, look at these mugs. I have to have you on. I have to have you on. And thank you so much, by the way, for this mug. Super generous for you to send it to me. I was stoked.
Every time you don't know what you do for the smaller mug makers. Every time you post or repost our post or any of our pictures, we see a 3 or 4 or 5 percent uptick in followers or people that start to follow our shop. So you do a lot more than you think you do for the community. So we thank you, man.
Oh, geez, thanks. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it means a lot to the smaller mug makers, man. It means a hell of a lot.
That's what I got into this for. I started collecting tiki mugs, and there was an old website, Ooga Mooga, which is extinct, but was an amazing resource. And one thing that I didn't like about Ooga Mooga is that it didn't give weight to the people that were making mugs today. So that's one of the reasons I made Search for Tiki, so I could kind of put a spotlight on the people to know, the people to follow, the people that are in it to win it today, rather than the people that made mugs, 30 years ago.
Right.
And you're it, dude. You're crushing it.
Oh man, thank you so much. It's my wife and I, we try to do the best we can, man.
I don't know if you're okay with it, but I'm thinking we kick this off with some rapid fire questions.
10-4, man. Go for it.
We might turn the heat on that kiln up to 11. Like this is Final Tap.
All right.
I don't think that's how degrees are measured.
Fortified here for a second.
Get fortified, yeah. Have a cocktail. Ooh, that's a spooky mug. Who made that mug?
That's one of ours. This one's
no.
You might you might recognize this. This was a hot dog model from the 1990s. His name was Jay Cody. He's a superstar in the community. One of probably the sweetest guys and. Yep. He tends to buy a few of our zombies, so we decided to immortalize them and make a mug from them. And
what's he got? Like one of every glaze?
I don't know about that, but we just wanted to show that these are the luscious hot dogs. That if it's an official, it's an official Pie Eyed Tikis if it's got the hot dogs in it.
I love it, dude.
Rapid fire questions. Let's hit it.
Rapid fire questions. Let's
warning.
Just warning up here. Warning, these questions are kiln hot. All right. Some controversial questions. Okay. Question number 1. And no cop-out answers. I want a solid black and white answer. What is the greatest tiki bar open today?
Greatest tiki bar open today. For palaces, it would be Max's. For having fun, it would have been a bar. A Shameful Tiki up in Montreal. We had a blast when we were there. And if it's a home bar, it'd probably be a couple named Jorge and Liz. And it's Frankie's Lounge in LA. And so there's 3. And all 3 of them are out of sight, brother.
I say name 1 bar and you name 3.
I
Not
gave
off
you
to a
3
good start,
categories,
buddy.
brother.
Not off to a good start. All right. Well, I've never been to Max's South Seas, which I'm a little ashamed to admit, but it's so out of the way. It's really kind of like a destination, right? So if I got to plan a trip to Grand Rapids because I'm not usually going to Grand Rapids, Michigan. So I got to plan a trip to go there. So I haven't been there. I'm super jealous of that. What is a tiki bar that you want to visit that you've not had the opportunity to see?
There's one in Miami. I don't know how to pronounce it right. It's Esotico, and
Exotico?
it looks like it's so much fun, bro. We have, and it's close. It's in Florida. It's a drive down there, and it looks so phenomenal. But that's the one that I need to hit. That's where our next destination trip will be probably.
They post all these sick videos on Instagram of the flames, and the bartenders do all the flames. They go crazy with that stuff.
Oh man! And then the little sneaky bar in the back got the jazz singers on Thursdays and stuff. It is that's our. I'm ashamed to say that we haven't been there yet, man. Since it's Florida, brother. There you go.
Get out there. No more excuses.
Right on, right on.
Me either. So I'm not one to talk. But okay, so let's flip it around. What's the worst tiki bar experience you've ever had? Or not necessarily.
Oh.
Just say tiki in general. Is that particularly stands out as wow? That was unpleasant.
I can't answer that one, brother. That's too hot. I feel a lot of mugs breaking in the kiln, brother.
Okay,
that was good though. That's a good one, dude. Thank you. I'll have to plead the fifth on that one.
You get one free pass.
Dude. Not in this community, bro. Not in this community, dude. Thank you.
All right. Let's be honest, okay? I have a mug website. I'm obsessed with mugs. You're a mug maker. You make plenty of mugs. How often do you actually drink out of mugs? And how often do you prefer to drink from glassware?
The first part of the question, anytime that I fire up the backyard bar, I'm drinking out of mugs, and that's what they're bought for. And I drink out of some mugs, and it does two things. It promotes the mug maker, hopefully a little bit, and shows people out there that these things are functional art forms. And then B, it when you're sitting there and you grab a mug and you feel it feels good in the hand, it goes in the back of your brain somewhere that I need to have a place for your hands to rest, and you go for the feel of the mug. And if you don't use them, how do you know what that is? You know what I'm saying? B part of that question. I didn't quite hear the second part of that, sir. I'm sorry.
No, for me, it's kind of the same question. Okay, I collect mugs. I love mugs, but it's hard for me when I have a $400 mug to justify drinking out of it. Now, I will do it at least once out of every tiki mug. But if I have a friend over, they're not getting the $500 tiki raw. They're getting the Mai Tai glass that I can easily replace. So I wonder if you're a mug maker. Is there a little bit less of a risk? You're drinking out of your mugs. You can remake the mugs.
No, not at all, man. They used to, when I was a younger man, we used to have parties at our house, and I had shelves outside, and they were filled with tiki mugs. So any guest could go grab those, and then I kept the jewels inside. But then as a older man, we don't throw as many parties at the house, so brought all the shelves inside so the hurricanes don't get them.
Yeah, I guess that would be a thing. Do you have to do like the putty in Florida that California does, or that's no, because no earthquakes, right?
Most of my shelves that most of the shelves that we rock, we got bamboo. I got bamboo rods to hold them in from place. But when the hurricanes come, you bring it all in, man. The floats are usually the thing that gives me the willies, because they're glass and there's pool. It's when the hurricanes come and we bring it all in.
You don't mess with the tiki mugs.
No,
you got to keep them safe.
That's the first thing that comes in the yard and stuff that you pick up afterwards. But the mugs usually used to be the first things that came in.
It's like I think it's Arrested Development, right? The first episode, the money's in the banana stand, and then the banana stand burns down. The money's in the tiki shack.
It
All
right,
the tiki shack.
Oh yeah, man. I think I got couple of years ago got sick and had a moment where I was like, oh man, I better start thinking about the next, what happens if I move on. My wife would be stuck with these mugs, and it was like, holy, I used to hide money in certain mugs, like that's where my savings would be in and I was like, don't ever throw those mugs out,
Is she right there with you, like knowing the value? Or would you like leave little price tags on the bottom of things?
I don't know if I want her to know how much some of these cost.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I was on a gecko kick for a while. About 3 or 4 months, I was buying geckos, and then about 6 months later, we started writing our receipts off, and she gave me the look. And as a married man, you'll learn that look real quick, Gabriel. When you're a married man, and that look comes up, you're like, I was in some trouble, bro.
So the way I view it, I got a free pass. Okay, I just got engaged in Hawaii. And
congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
That was my segue into that, man. Congratulations, dude.
Thank you so much. But the way I view it is, she was aware of the tiki mug addiction before she said yes. Right. Right
on.
So that's my cover. I feel like I'm covered. Like, she knew about it. She still agreed to it. It's a package deal. I come with the excessive tiki.
Yeah, no, my wife's so supportive of this. We're in it together, man. We're definitely in it together, brother. And I wish that for you. I wish that your missus can ride with you in the tiki. Enjoy the tiki vibes, man. It's a good tribe to be a part of, man.
In moderation. I don't think she's gonna fall as hard for tiki as I have, perhaps, but that's okay. There are varying levels of tiki. Going back to the previous of tiki mugs, broken tiki mugs, rapid hot fire questions. Have you ever broken a tiki mug? And was it particularly devastating, or have you been lucky thus far? I
think I've gotten 3 mugs that have been broken since 2001, and that's with back 10 years ago, people like 20-30 people partying in the house, and lost a Joe Vitale, like one of the original mugs that I got. It broke. It was a I Dream a Genie, I Dream a Tiki mug. That was kind of painful. And then a couple smaller versions. A guy from Creepy Tikis down in Fort Lauderdale, one of his, like, he doesn't make them anymore. It used to be a tiki bar down there. One of those broken while I was maneuvering mugs around the shelves. So yeah, it was a bummer, dude. But three out of 2001. That's 22 years. I'm good with that ratio.
That's a pretty good batting ratio. I haven't broken that many mugs, but I had one bad casualty. I had a shelf out behind me that was loaded with tiki mugs, and it came down and it hit my record player and shattered the record player, and all the mugs. It's probably $1,000 lost. But
holy shit!
Live and learn. That's why I keep these cases on the floor.
Yeah, no, man. Yeah. The holy moly, dude. That would be a bad day, brother, for sure.
All right. One final hot question, kiln question. If you weren't a tiki fanatic, it might not seem that controversial, but apparently in this community, it is a very controversial question. What makes a tiki mug, in your view? I don't think there's necessarily a right answer. I think just people have different perspectives. And I'm curious to know what your perspective is.
What makes a tiki mug? Good question. Hot or not, I'm not sure. Tiki mug, I would say it's any throwback to Polynesian tiki idol. I mean, 98% of the mugs, 99% of the mugs that I have are tiki, like an actual tiki form. As I say that, I'm drinking out of a zombie, so it kind of that's at 1%, and I think I can link that to there's an actual cocktail called the zombie, so I consider that. So I get a kick out of the site saying there's a site out there that says this isn't tiki, and I get a kick out of that. But I think that people just call them mugs. They'd get the same, they'd sell the same. I don't know, so what makes a tiki mug? I think if it a throwback to the Polynesian, tiki gods. I think that's what I would call a tiki mug. Like it
definitely does. If you slap, tiki mug on it, it definitely sells more. So I think that's why people do it. But
that might be what it is. You know, they get more hits or something on that. I personally, I like this. I make this mug, but I wouldn't call this a tiki mug. I'd call it a zombie, a mug, and it doesn't lessen the value because it's not a tiki mug. It's still ceramic. It's still art. I mean, I see a lot of new people making some incredible stuff, and it doesn't make it less art. The art's still in it. You know, it's put the tiki moniker on it. That's yes, that was a hot question. I think I'd go back to the 98%, 99%.
Yeah, it's weird because like I personally, I don't have a problem with people calling things tiki mugs because I, as a consumer, when I go on eBay, I type in tiki mug and that's how I find stuff, right? So I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but I will say my collection over time has definitely graduated more towards. I don't know if I necessarily call it Polynesian because a lot of the tiki mugs they have nothing to do with Polynesia, right? Like Andreas Bumate, Tiki Diablo, Oceanic Arts, those are all American artists that are doing these tikis, but they kind of hearken that spirit, the Polynesian spirit.
10-4, man. That 10-4, I agree with that. You've
got the, Ren Clark's Polynesian Village with the severed head. Nobody really questions that being a tiki mug. So there's definitely some gray areas. But with that said, get out of the hot questions. How the mug feels in your hand makes all the difference, whether it gets played with or dusted. From Ren Problem. I agree with that. A good the hand feel. But do you remember what your first tiki mug was that you
Holy
made?
Moly.
Or well, no. What was your first tiki mug that you purchased? Let's start there.
Yes, great question. I have them lined up for you if you're ready.
Oh,
these were
let's do it.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There were 7 of them. And these were the first 7 that I bought back in 2001, 2002. So this was one of them right here. Yeah, that's about 2013, brother. That's ridiculous. That's a Tiki Pop. That's leaving Tiki Pop's kiosk, man. So
you've got bags here, so you must have been in deep at this point.
Excuse me?
You've got literal bags, so you must have been in deep at this point.
We went to get married and we got the pleasure to meet up with Scott and Rob, and man, like leaving Scott's kiosk, that you see it, man. That's 2013, so that's about 12 years in, and the hooks were set, man. The hooks were set. But the first mugs were I used to work with this guy named Joe Vitale, one of the most beautiful people out there, best sculptors out there. He originally worked for Tiki Farm.
Yep.
He's
who by the way, is a guest tomorrow night. Holden Westland is our guest tomorrow from Tiki Farm. So
right on, bro. Ask him about Joe Vitale, man. He's one of his first artists, and I had the pleasure of working with them out at MGM Studios, and this is one of his originals. This is boom. And this all came out of Tiki Farm. This guy right here, I think this was another one of Joe Vitale's mugs. Boom, boom. And then little jewel here. Boom. And then even this guy's my favorite. I love handled mugs. But I bought these as a gift for one of my brothers, Spanky David Hudas. He was getting married. And I asked Joe, I was like, man, I need a cool ass wedding gift. And he's like, I work for this company. It's a brand new company. It's called Tiki Farm. And I'm like, never heard of it. Went on site, bought 2 of each one of these mugs to give as a gift. They showed up, opened them up, and man, I didn't give them all to David and as a wedding gift. I kept one of each, and I was hooked, man. I think back then you could buy mugs for like $14 a pop, man. You know, it was an easy in. But man, Joe Vitale, man, I bet he might be ashamed that he's part of my origin story. But man, I have nothing but love for this dude. He's one of the best sculptors out there wow.
I love it, dude. I love it.
So those are my first mugs, man. That was thank you for asking, man.
Were the mugs the segue? Because if I look on your Instagram, I see you posting vinyl records. I see you posting cocktails. I see you posting mugs. So what was your first exposure to tiki?
Man, first exposure to the tiki was buying these mugs. That was about 2001, and then start 2006 got a house, and then I had one of my buddies that I used to work with, Christian Himmelstein, another great artist. I had him asked him to carve some real tikis, like wooden sculptures for us. We built a 20-foot tiki bar out in the back patio, and then I just started collecting a bunch of mugs. So that's how that rolled into progression. And then about 2008 or 9, maybe about 2008 or 9, went down to a Hukilau for the first time. And man, back in 2008, 2009, I think Los Straight Jackets were the main headliner, and the party was at this place called the Cabana across the street from the Rec Bar, the really nice Clipper down there. And man, I just went down there, and I was swept in, man. That's all she wrote, man. It was like surf music being played, pool party, all kind of go-go dancers. It was and then all kind of great custom art, man. I was hook, line, and sinker, man. Hook, line, and sinker, brother.
So that was earlier than you started making mugs, right?
Yeah.
So how long after getting the Hukilau hook stuck in you, did you decide, you know what, I want to do this myself. I want to contribute to this community?
Well, I think we went down 2013. We went to another Hukilau, and we were setting up vending. And I used to make glassware, where I'd go get a vinyl cutter and cut some vinyl, put it on some glass, go into the shed and sandblast it, and then peel it, and then you'd have these frosted mugs, and then did that on flasks. This is before now people just get them laser etched, but I was out in the backyard sandblasting stuff in a cardboard box, so a little bit of do it yourself. But we went down to Hukilau 2013, I think, and we set up a room. Back then, that party, they let you vend out of a room, so we vended out of a room. And then all the people got swept away to the Mai Tai for the day. So like all the vendors were kind of left on the veranda or the pool deck, and started talking to these guys, barking barefoot. These two gentlemen that do all the foam props for Hukilau, and they were ceramic artists, and they were like, man, you should be making mugs. And so that next year, 2013, went and bought a small kiln. 2015 came out with our first mugs, and so about 2015 started making mugs. That's a long segue for our how the hook was set. By that time, the hook was definitely set, brother.
Yep. Okay. That's okay. What would you say, and would your opinion have changed over time? What would you say if a person today came to you and said, I want to make tiki mugs, what equipment do I need, and what equipment is a want?
Got it.
I think it's easy to see some of the videos being put out on Instagram today and be like, I need a Laguna spray booth, right? Do you need a Laguna spray booth or not? Like what is that? How much of an investment is it to get into tiki mug making?
Man, I got into it, and for about a used 110 kiln, and for about $700, off of Sanford Clay up here right beside me. Carol, the owner of that, set me up with a used kiln, $700. I didn't have to get any electric to the house. Plugged it in on my patio, and then bought some slip and made some plaster molds, and I was off to the races. And you can get started as cheap as that, brother. And the kiln was optional because some clay places will fire it for you, but there's something about firing it yourself and getting that instant gratification when you open the kiln the next day or the day after. But now we can produce about 100 mugs a month, and I pour slip out of a 2-gallon bucket, and I got 2 kilns, and I do have a spray booth, but it's not necessary. But if you don't mind overspraying your house, the spray booth is pretty good. You know what I'm saying? Our kitchen door goes right to our garage, so the spray booth is a good thing, brother.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah, so all the other stuff would be luxuries, and if you get into, if you're making 100 plus mugs, I could see the worth of all these things. But you can get it. I started out with a $700 used kiln and a 5-gallon bucket.
When you started, did you have any experience in ceramics? Like maybe
No.
in high school? Nothing.
Nothing, brother. I would go to these car shows. I used to have a 56 Cadillac, and I'd go to the local car show, and Joe would always show up. The guy, Joe Vitale, again, would show up at these car shows, and I'd always be like, so what actually, I'd ask him a couple questions one year, and then the next year I wouldn't see him, and then a year later I'd be like, so what else is the next step? And he's like, oh man, professionals are carving it out of wax and stuff. And I'd be like, I'd put that in my and then I came across a Tiki Rob website, and he it was a webpage, and he was showing how to make a mold for one of his, I think it was a Carson mug, and this is way back.
Was this back in the days of like Tiki Central, the forum?
No, this was on just one of his websites. It was like a little one page, and it had like 3 or 4 black and white photos on it. And saw that, like, oh, that's how you make a box. And then this is before Van Tiki started doing all these awesome videos, and I would search through Instagram and come across, like, every once in a while Mulder would pop up a picture of some new mug he was making, but in the background you'd see 2 parts of the mold, and you'd be like, holy shit, okay. And you would like dissect it. You would take it, you would take that picture and you would dissect it. And that's how I learned. And then you learn by messing up, man. You learn by messing up, dude.
Did you find like a lot of the artists, the big artists making tiki mugs at the time were like open and receptive to giving feedback, or were they like, these are trade secrets,
brother,
I'm not going to talk to you?
This is about 2015. And if it wasn't for Tiki Rob and Tiki Pot and John Mulder, I wouldn't know how to do it. I wouldn't be doing what I do. Those guys were Rob and Scott. They actually had the same size kiln that I had, and they'd be like, oh man, keep the lid open till 200. Don't open it until it gets cooled down to 150. If it wasn't for those guys, man, I show so much respect to those 3 guys, man. They helped out tremendously.
Yeah.
So yes, they are very open. Those 3 people were very open back in the day, man.
Were you in? I think you're in Florida now, right? Were you in Florida then?
Yeah, I've been in Florida since 1985. My mom and my sister and myself moved down here, and segue to so much love to my mom and my sister, and I love them so much. So, but yeah, we moved down here 1985 and been in Florida ever since, sir.
Nice. So John Mulder's he's your neighbor, along with Shrunken Monkey. Shout out to Shrunken Monkey. Shout out to Taboo Relics. They're all in your neighborhood.
Dave and Frankie, man. A segue into those guys. Those guys have. Dave, man, he's a machine, dude. I think I just talked to him the other day. He told me he did 300 mugs in 54 days. I'm like, he's a machine, bro. I like, whoa. And then Frankie, I tip my hat to Dave and Frankie and Manny and Ellie, and I wrote this down. And Christine and Alex and Pete and Robbie. They
just your shout out list.
That was my shout out list. There was a joker trying to steal some of our mug designs, and if it wasn't for those people, they smacked them around pretty good on Facebook. So I it's in the back of the memory forever. I want to say that I thank those guys, man.
I do think that's a constant challenge. That might belong in the hot kiln question part of this segment, though. The idea theft, counterfeit mugs, where the line is, because in some regards, we're all drawing from the same inspiration, right? There's this huge history, this deep history of tiki culture. And then there's this tendency to do Disney designs, do this, do that. And it's like, where's that line between, drawing from the same inspiration and copying another artist? And I don't know if it's necessarily a black and white question. It's just
no, it's black and white, man. I'll give you the.
You think so?
It's there's inspired by, and God bless that, man. And as an artist, that I'm inspired by every mug maker that's out there. I inspired by, thumbs up, brother. But 1-to-1 copy, go pound sand, brother. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. I like Tiki Pop. Another shout out to Tiki Pop, the Beach Bums over in Maui, for his what did he call them? They're like counterfeits of counterfeits.
Oh, the little muglets.
The little bootlegger tiki. Bootleg tiki. Is that what he called them?
Dude, those little 3 muglets he did, or 2 muglets.
Yeah.
Man. Did he? That's a nice way of smacking it back. That's playing tennis.
Yep. They just get gradually smaller and smaller and smaller.
Definitely,
it's like a little espresso cup, little shrunken espresso cup. Yeah, I like that. I had one of my mugs. I don't have it near me, but a mugshot, Jailbird Tiki mugshot, and one of the companies in China sells them, mass to the to restaurants. If they want to order these, they can order 1,000 of my mugshot mugs in their catalog. And I've never seen anyone actually order them, but I get kicks out of it because that particular mug is a tiki holding up a sign like he's getting his mugshot taken.
Oh, right.
And the sign says SFT for Search for Tiki with the date the website launched. So the fact that like a restaurant would buy a counterfeit of that mug that has my name on the front of it brings me
Dude. Yeah, when it's overseas, you take it as a compliment, man. Like we've had a mug ripped off by the Russians, and they ripped off, I think, Crazy Al and a Van Tiki, and I was just like, our mug was, they were booting them at the same time, and people were like, "Hey, man, somebody's booting your stuff," and they're Russian, and I was like, I was so excited. I felt so honored just to be part of those masters. I was excited. But when it's somebody local, you gotta. That's where you draw the line.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's in Russia, right? Like, it's gonna cost more to ship the mug at that point than it is to actually buy it. Have at it, Russians want some tiki culture, and you're that desperate. Just take the ideas.
Yeah, no.
So, what would you, going back to the mug making process and how you learned? You learned 10 years ago. If you were to pick it up today for the very first time, is there anything that you would do differently than how you did it 10 years ago?
No, man. I think my wife and I, we're so blessed. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't change a thing, man. I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't, man. I'm stoked. My wife and I, we love the community, man. I think I'm stoked, brother.
All right. Good answer. We brought up Van Tiki. There's a question that I think I asked the very first season of 13 Nights of Tiki Frights when Van Tiki Henrik was a guest on the show. And I ask every mug maker the same question. I always get an answer one way or the other in regards to the kiln. Some people, Henrik, are terrified of opening the kiln and seeing what has become of their precious masterpieces. And some people really look forward to it. It's exciting to see how the kiln reacted and what happened to the tiki mugs. Where do you stand? Do you hate the kiln? Do you love the kiln? Is it a hate-love relationship?
Are you thinking it's Halloween or is it Christmas? That's how you answer that question.
Oh, this is the peephole, right? And this is from your Instagram. You've posted the peephole a few times. Blazing hot little circle.
I tend to get a little bit looser than I should out on the patio on Sundays. And if I usually try to get a kiln load going on Saturday, Sunday, and you go in there, man, I shouldn't be looking at that. That stuff will blind you, man. But yeah, it's either I love opening it, but man, you something that you think came out magical and it doesn't, it'll ruin your day. It'll ruin your day, man. But you got to go into it's man. I think that was a bad.
I had to do it. We had to pull up this photo. You dangerous soul.
If my wife's watching this right now, she was so furious with me. I think I had old kiln gloves and the holes in the thumbs and stuff, and she's like, "I'm not taking you to the hospital, man, if you get burnt." And I'm like, "It'll be all right." But I shouldn't have opened that, man.
Dude, what about your face? That's recklessness. Like you wear kiln gloves, but your face. You gotta lean into that to look into it.
Dude. That's pure recklessness, man. That's too many rum cocktails right there.
It happens. Did the mugs come out okay?
Yeah, no, that was good. I think, I mean, like I said, some days are great. I think my wife was like putting 7 or 8 layers on these mugs, and we fired them, waited the whole time. The next day they came out, and they had these small little tiny cracks in the bottom of them. She hasn't enjoyed glazing since that day. I would think that, you put that much energy and love into something, and then the firing destroys it. It makes you a little bit tepid. Me personally, it's what we do. We got to keep trucking. It's part of it. It's I think just today I opened up 6. We put 6 mugs in there to refire for a good friend in California, and one of them cracked. Another one, it's like it's just part of it. For me, it's part of it. So
does that make you the voice of reason? And let me explain. So sometimes,
I need that on record, dude. The voice of reason. Jason.
Yes, your wife is gonna hate me. Okay, but hear me out. Sometimes you glaze a mug, and you expect one thing to happen.
Oh yeah.
And the mug comes out, and it's totally different, and you're super disappointed. You're like, that is not at all what I thought was going to happen. But the voice of reason comes around and says, you know what? This is not what I expected, but nobody else knows what I thought this mug was going to be.
Oh, man.
So it's still sellable, right? It's not what you thought it was going to be, but maybe someone else will love it. Is that you, or is that your wife?
Ted, man, that's both of us, and they are. We call them crazy glazes. If you see us labeled as a crazy glaze, that means it didn't come out the way we wanted it, but it looks. We're kind of excited about it. The bad part is when somebody's like, "Oh, I want that mug again," because we don't know quite how we got it there. Because we'll do some layers and we'll fire, then we'll do some layers and fire again. And if you see us put the description as crazy glaze, it might not happen again, man.
All right, that is both epic and terrible for me. And I say this because my website, the Search for Tiki, cataloging tiki mugs. Dude, you do all these amazing one-off glazes, but for someone who's trying to catalog them, it's a huge pain in the butt.
They're just right nuts. You could write nuts or crazy, man.
Nuts.
We had a customer reach out. And they're like, what's the edition number on that? I'm like, oh, you bought number 13. That's the 13th mug. It's available for you now. And she's like, no, how many are there? And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Pulled out the book and I was like, oh, there's 13 wood. 2 of them are red, 3 are blue. There's 14 that are stone. There's 1 beige. And I was trying to type all this, and I realized that it was a little bit maddening. So for somebody that had to catalog it, holy moly, brother, I could send you our books, and you can just.
Oh God, the hours, dude, the hours it would take me.
I'm sorry, brother.
It's okay. It's okay. As a collector, I appreciate it.
It's a lot more fun to open up a kiln and there be 15 different glazed mugs in there, then them all be the same for us. It makes it a little bit like Christmas. Segue back to the question
we
before.
had a question come in the comments. I think I already know the answer, but we'll ask you. Can you ask, do you ever make a small run like a dozen? And does anyone make small runs of tiki mugs, I would assume?
Do we make small runs? That's mostly all we try to do, but do we make them for clients? At this time, we're not. We're doing our own mugs right now. And do I know anybody that does small rugs at 12? 12's pretty small. The money that would go into the plaster and the mold and the sculpture, it would be a pretty penny. I'm not sure if I know anybody that does that.
Yeah, I guess my personal answer to the question. Okay, so if you go to a large manufacturer like Tiki Farm, Mug Tiki, the minimums usually start at around 500 mugs.
Woo!
Go up from there. Small local mug makers, okay, like yourself, okay, you never, correct me if I'm wrong, you're never going to make 500 mugs because that would be tedious and exhausting and just not fun, right? So you would do smaller runs, 100, 150, sometimes even 50 for the local artists. With that said, like you said, the cost of sculpting, the cost of the mold making, all that stuff, when you have a larger run of mugs, that cost gets divided over the cost of all those mugs. So if you only make 12 mugs, they're going to be astronomically expensive, so unless that's a gift for like a wedding party, which I've seen done a couple times, and you're spending a few $100s a mug, it's not terribly practical.
Yeah, as like somebody that you don't know and you're making that small of a run, that would be tough. I mean, as I say that, I think the toe mugs that we're making right now, I'm only going to make 10 of them, but it's for my buddy's birthday party. He's turning 50 next week, and he lost a toe because the drunk driver.
Oh, I was going to ask you what the story of the toe mug. Dude, I saw that on Instagram, and I was like, I kind of hate this, and I kind of love it at the same time.
Oh man, this is
drinking out of a giant toe.
Dude, this is my buddy from work. I used to work at this place for 27 years, and this is one of the only dudes that, like, the most solid person ever, and he lost a toe to a drunk driver. Complications on surgery and stuff, and so we call him Tobo, and man, he's the best person in the world, and his birthday's next week, so I got some toe mugs for him in the party, and they're not tiki people, so I'm gonna bring some rum punch, and they're gonna get loose, man. They're gonna get loose.
Hell yeah!
But that's what that mug's for, man. So I say I don't do a dozen mugs, but I'm gonna do 10 mugs for this cat, and so if it's your
best friend,
yeah.
Everybody makes exceptions, but
yeah,
not for client work.
For cash, too small for cash. But for buddies, hell yeah, man. Hell yeah.
This is a completely weird tangent, okay? But I took a filmmaking class in high school. Okay, and growing up, I was obsessed with you go to the scholastic book fairs and you purchase a book, and I purchased Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and there was a story in there about a person who, I believe they're like gardening or something. They're outside their house gardening, and they find a big toe.
Oh.
And they're like, oh, this is weird. This is cool. And they like put it on their nightstand or something. Okay. And then they go to sleep, and the next morning or during the night, they just hear this voice that's like, where is my toe? Super creepy. And it just gets louder and louder until they're like right outside the door. Where's my toe? And then he just like throws it out the window and is like, take it. And that was the movie that I did for filmmaking class in high school. Was I made the big toe story. Here's your mug, dude. Here it is.
That's a non-bloody one, man. Yeah, there's some bloody ones on there. There you go.
Oh God, with the like busted toenail.
Those ones are the gnarly ones, dude. They're gnarly.
So gnarly.
Yeah.
So are those completely sold out or coming soon?
Those are sold out, man. Those ones we put them up today. We only had 5 of them up there today. That little guy's probably still available, but he's not as gnarly. But
how many? We can pull up the gnarly looking one. I'm always curious. Glazing process. There are glazes. There are under glazes. Like, how many times did you fire this mug to make it look that way?
That mug right there with the dried snow is fired 3 times. There's like an underglaze for the base color. There's an underglaze for the toenail, and then a wipe. And there's an underglaze for the veining. There's an underglaze for the bone. There's an underglaze. Then I fire it, and then come back over and do a spatter. Then there's a dusting of a transparent brown. Then there's a black dunk, and then a wipe. And then there's celadone to get the transparent veining on there. Then there's a celadone on the blood.
Dude, you're stressing me out just listing all this stuff.
Yeah. And then there's a celadone for the dark red. And then we fired that. And then my wife has the final say on the mugs most of the times. And she's like, it's a little bit one tone. So I was like, all right. Went back and then sponged in some magma. It's like a textured lava. And then sponged in a little bit of red, gloss red. And then we sponged in another little bit of a red transparent celadone, which gives it a little bit more sheen. And then fired it again. And then you cross your fingers and throw it in the fire for the 3rd time and hope they don't crack, man. So, but there's a little bit of there's some steps in most of the glaze works, man. It's I wish it was the spray and wipe, but
easy peasy, but not so easy.
But it's like sometimes man, you can go down a rabbit hole glazing some stuff, man, and have fun doing it. It's like, there's the day, man.
There's a new big toe in town. Sorry, Tom Lore, you've been replaced.
That's what. No, bro, don't go there, brother. Don't go there. That's the famous hot dog model from 1990 right
there. Yep, from the beginning. But dude, your art is fantastic. With that said, I think we need to cleanse the palate of that hideous monstrosity.
Please do.
We'll get that off the screen. We're scaring people away. Not really. But I'm curious, maybe we can pull up some other photos of some of the other mugs you've made here for the elf behind the scenes. Photos 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. I'm curious if we can talk to you for a little bit about inspiration on some of the mugs that you've made. Dude, this is so cool. I believe it's Marcasian. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong.
You're there, brother.
And then you've got some here in the front that you've. Did you make molds of those? Do you do any hand sculpting? So the rum bottles in the front that you've added on to a couple of those. What's the process for those?
The inspiration, to answer your first question, of those. That's an actual stone sculpture from the islands in that same kind of arms bowed out and coming up as a thinker. That comes directly from the islands, and that's where I try to get most of my inspiration is from, like, for some of the starting point, I guess. The original molds are probably in the back, and that's just what we called the Marquesan. And then we, thanks to Carol Graven, Mini Tiki Meow, she suggested that we just cut the arm off to make the mold, to make a simpler mold. So then the ones in the middle, we called those the thinkers. And so that's another set of molds just for that arm, which we hollow out the top, hollow out the chin, and then hollow out the arm so the fluids could flow through there and the glazes could flow through there. And then the ones that you see up front, we call those the drinker. That's another little rum bottle. That was a separate mold. So then we're cutting into the mug, scoring the plastic, the slip, and then putting it on there, letting it dry, and then we go and get this stuff. It's like they call it Aztec medium, I think, but basically it's like if you see any imperfections in your bonding areas, and you brush that around and it'll seal it out. Ted Mayhar, this dude's the rock star, man. That dude is the rock star. This cat just went on a magical trip all through Polynesia. If you don't follow this cat, follow his site, man. He hit every Polynesian island. Do
you know what his Instagram is?
I think it's T Mayhar or E Mayhar or Ed Mayhar.
Okay.
But dude. He's a rock star, brother. He just did the whole. Him and his wife just did the. They started out in Easter Island, I think, and then they went over to the smaller set of the islands, and then they cruised on up. They went to New Zealand and stuff, and he had the trip of a lifetime, brother. He's super nice.
That's on my list, dude. It's on my list someday.
You follow that cat, he or reach out to him. I'm sure he'll talk to you about it, man. He has the itinerary from heaven, man. It's like,
Start making my Google list. I kind of like, so before we change from this one, so there's 3 versions. There's without the arm, and the rum bottle. I kind of like that because of the, and I know it's Tahitian, but Tahitian cannibal carvings where you have the hunter, catcher, eater. I think it's kind of fun to do that with a tiki where you have 3 different.
I think we were asking when we first came out, like we had the drinker, the thinker. I just didn't know what to call the third one. Not as smart as I need to be, you know.
All right, so if someone can, in the questions, come up with a good suggestion. So the drinker, the thinker, the blank.
Name of that, man.
Put it in the comments, and we'll see. We'll see. Maybe, you never know. Maybe he could retroactively change the name of one of his mugs.
Oh, definitely, man. And then I'll send you one of them if you come up with a righteous name, brother, for sure.
And let's try to take a look at Jason T. Smith, the one-armed stinker. Jason, I don't know if that's going to win you a mug, but nice try. We got another stinker here. Blinker.
All
Facebook
right.
user Blinker. So, all right, let's take a look at another mug.
Thank you. These guys are rock stars too, man. Keenan and Carrie. Oh my goodness, these people, so smart, man. There's so much love, man. Mad love to the Tiki Ohana. They're part of our Ohana. They've been with us for a long, long time. Thank you. You got Keenan and Carrie. Cheers, brother. These cats, we get presents sometimes of glazes, and man, they're the ones. That's where the dried blood texture comes from. Is some of the glaze that they sent us, man. So mad love to these two, Keenan and Carrie. God bless. Woo. No, these guys.
We got another one.
These, man. So this is the ingester. That fat little body. I think this could be a model for you right there.
You doing a lot of self-portraits, are you?
Come see my sketches. I tell my wife to see if she wants to come see me sketch.
Is this like Titanic? You know, sculpt me like one of your French girls.
Yeah. These guys, man. This was I bought a 3D printer back about 4 years ago, and I didn't know anything about 3D printing or how to download files, and that's a pretty good one. And
up to the brinker, Rinka-dinker from Ken Ruzick.
And so I went on the 3D print community and reached out to these guys, and the owner of that file. There was 2 people that did a mashup, and one guy was from Taiwan, and another guy was from I think New York. And I reached out to him. I was like, "Do you mind if we make these mugs? You know, because that design's not our design." And then one dude's like, "It's not my design either, bro. I got it off this guy from Taiwan." I reached out to him, and I was like, "This is a lost cause. Never gonna get an answer." Dude, next day, this guy reaches back. He's like, "Oh, hell yeah, man, no worries." He goes, "Nobody ever asks. These things are free, free to go out." And I'm like, "Man, I'm new to this 3D community. I don't want to be the dark guy, you know what I'm saying? I want to be a nice guy on this community." And so we printed it out, and we tried. A lot of fun, and a lot of fun.
Do you have a 3D printer?
I do, but I haven't printed in probably, man, I probably 2 years. It's just not my thing. I wish I was. Yep. I wish I was better at this. Yeah, Moai boot right down, brother. The Vessel of Enlightenment. That one was called.
Vessel of Enlightenment. I like that.
The first ones were probably. We called them the bottle killers, man. There's like if you got a bottle killer and you drink out of it, God bless you, brother. God bless you, brother.
They're just big. Is that why you're saying that?
Probably humongous, bro.
That's one of the benefits of 3D sculpting as opposed to hand sculpts. You know, you can make them it's you can make it smaller. You can do whatever.
Oh yeah, man. It's I wish I was more skilled in the digital realm. Yeah, definitely.
What do you, so if you're not doing the 3D thing primarily, are you sculpting? What material do you use to sculpt?
Right now, I sculpt everything in the monster clay, and then we'll make a sculpture of that, and then it's and there's a lot of different ways that people most of the mug makers, there's a certain path that they go down to make their molds. I try to steer clear of it because I don't have the funds to be buying the $300-400 worth of silicone, the $200 worth of the wood to build all the boxes. So what we do is we sculpt them, and then I'll pour a little bit of silicone over them, just over the mold, take the wax out, and then I'll pour 2-part resin in there, and it gives me a real hard form. And then that form I can sand and get all the kinks out of it and make it super smooth. And then I'll make a plaster mold of that. And then when I'm done with that plaster mold, I'll pour an actual part, and then I'll either carve the wood in there, or I'll carve the stone in there, or I'll change something on it, and then I'll make individual molds off of that. So that's why you see a size difference in ours. It's like there'll be like 10 that come out originally at a normal size, and we call those the artist series or whatever, because it's usually one glaze, one style. And then there'll be the second run, which will be those are a little bit smaller, but I can make molds, and I can have 3 different molds going with 3 different textures instead of being married to one texture, one form. So it's a little bit different, but it's monster clay is the answer to that. That's what monster I used to call it.
Yeah, no, there's some people swear by monster clay, some people hate monster clay, so it's always interesting to find out
it's people use. In the summertime in Florida, if the heat coming off that plaster will soften it up. Excuse me, will soften it up a bit, so I can understand some people's dislike of it. But for me, throw it in the freezer the night before, let it it'll harden it up, and it works good for me.
One of the benefits, correct me if I'm wrong, with monster clay is you can reuse it, right? So like you can sculpt it, melt it down, sculpt again. So in terms of waste, there's very little waste.
I'll pull it out of the plaster, and then I'll thank you, Jay. We would love to, man. We go where we're invited, brother. We're like vampires. We go where we're invited. We don't want to show up and somebody be like, "Hey, who are you?" We're like, "Hey." And
you're not welcome here. That's the guy that made the scary toe. We don't want him around.
Exactly. I want to send some love out to our churro cruise, man. He was the gentleman that asked us to go out to Exoticon. Dude, our churro, dude. Big hug. Right there, dude. Nelly and I would love you, brother. Thank you. But very little waste, brother. Jump back. Very little waste. Man, we put it in a crock pot, melt it down again, and it's good to go. Right back into action.
All right. I want to take a quick break and ask you, it's been an hour. Are you okay? Keep going. There's plenty of people watching. We got 100 people watching. I want to be respectful of your time. Are you okay if I ask you some more questions?
I'm definitely, dude. I'm stoked. I'm so thankful for this, man. Okay. I hope I'm not ruining your show, brother. That's all.
No, not at all, dude. It's been an hour and the time just flew by. So here's a question for you. Pie Eyed Tikis, distinguishing tikis for the discerning collector, I believe it says on your website. How do you make your tiki stand out compared to other people's tikis?
Oh, man, great question. That's a great question, dude. I don't know how we make ours stand out, man. There's so many great mug makers now. It's like every day there's 2 or 3 new mug sculptures out there, and they're all amazing. And I'm humbled to be part of this community, man, and making mugs, man. I'm just stoked. There's no discerning it from another person's mug. It's I think if we discern ourselves from other mug makers, maybe it's the aloha that my wife puts in it afterwards, like after the the purchase is made, she puts so much love and energy into making sure that when somebody opens the mug, they feel like they feel that aloha jump out at them, and that might be where we discern ourselves from other mug makers. And but the sculptures, and there's so many great mug makers now, man. There's like I said, every day, every week, there's so many great mug makers, man. It's amazing. It's a good time to be making mugs, man. It's a good time to be making mugs, dude.
I have only been doing it a few years, but from what I gather, I think tiki mug collecting has never been more popular than it is today.
Yeah, I kind of thought the mug game might have jumped a shark about 3 years ago, and I was going to wait for the 10-year lull in collectability and still be the guy 10 years from now making them and get ready to ride the next wave. But the wave hasn't crashed yet. I thought it would a couple of years ago. It seems but now there's like so many new artists coming out that are making such great stuff. It pushes the last, you can't rest on something you did. It like you gotta bring your game to the next one, because there's some stuff out there now that are just like, man, I see some jungle modern drums that just came out last week. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like,
Dude, his stuff is insane. I think it was, I guess, last year before, I don't know, but most of his are hand thrown.
Oh,
right.
Dude,
so that's a totally different ball game than slip casting. I don't know that many people that are hand throwing or using a pottery wheel for tiki mugs these days, but
he's in a league of his own, brother. Then you got John Mulder. Every other mug that comes out from him is so beautiful and so not just a mug. It's like the sculptures just keep coming, man. It's a good time to be a mug maker. And then you got Patrick Vassar over at St. Pete also crushing sculptures, man. It's like I love when mug makers and like that he makes them for, and he pops his mug out, and I know it's his style, man. I'm like, dude, great sculpture, dude. I'm like,
yeah, dude, that man kills. So we had a Trouble in
Florida guys, man.
Hats out. Trouble in Paradise, our plain mug. First edition sold out. Second edition coming soon. But Patrick sculpted that, and it actually took us close to 3 years to make that mug from concept to fruition. But I was like, I looked at having other producers make it. I was like, I only trust Patrick with this mug. It's got to be Patrick. And so no regrets.
Yeah, man. Much love to the Florida. You got that guy. You got Frankie making lights and his lamps, dude. Come on, dude. That stuff's like, whew. It's a good time to be a mug maker, man. It's a good time to be a mug maker, man. The competition makes you better. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Or hopefully. It's like,
do you have a competitive spirit, perhaps?
Everybody. If you don't, it's yeah, of course, bro.
Should we arrange perhaps like a boxing match at the next Hukilau?
No, man.
All the Florida boys, come on.
No, dude, no, not at all, dude.
The Buddha of Enlightenment match, versus
that's the only one I'll join, dude.
All right. No Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos punch out, or no Mark Zuckerberg punch out in the tiki community.
No,
but it does
nothing but love. Nothing but love for the gentleman.
It does. It does beg the question. It's seemingly never been more crowded in tiki mug making, perhaps, as it is today, with a number of makers that are coming out here and making mugs. Do you think there are pros and cons of that? Do you think it's too crowded? Do you think there's plenty of room for more mug makers to come into the scene?
If you're making good mugs, the cream's gonna rise to the top, man. It's like if you're making a good sculpture and a good mug, there's always room for there's always room, man.
I hear that. Collecting has definitely gotten more expensive.
Oh yeah,
over the years. I appreciate so much that Pie Eyed Tikis has tiers of pricing. If you look at your most recent sale, you got stuff that sells for 100, you got stuff that sells for 225. And as someone that understands the amount of work that goes into mugs, Okay, I can definitely see that your mugs are priced based on how much time and effort and energy you're putting into those mugs. How do you price your mugs? You know,
I am a mug junkie, self-proclaimed mug junkie, man, and I love mugs. And I would want somebody to get a mug of ours, and when they open it, they're like, "Ah, that is way better than what I paid for it." Than the exact opposite of it, you know, like you paid $200-300 for a mug, and then you get it, and you're like, "Ah, cool." You know, you want that. I want somebody to open our boxes and be stoked, you know. And so how we price them is if it comes out of the mold and it's an easy cleanup, if there's no secondary sculpture, there's not a secondary or a third mold that needs to be attached, that keeps it in the certain range. If it's the first, I usually price I think a little bit more for the first 10 that we make, just because there's only going to be 10 made. The secondary run, the molds to come out are so much cleaner. It's less work for me to clean up. And then if you like the drinker that you pulled up earlier, there's doing it, you know, that's like 45 minutes after I pulled out of the molds of cleanup and secondary sculpture and sanding and sculpting before we even start the firing. So that's why they're priced at an upper tier. I hope that answered the question.
for sure. I love that. So I got this one here.
Right. Now see that. My wife.
I love this one.
Mug.
No.
It's too tall to pack in our normal boxes, so that one's that gives us a little bit of trouble packing it. It's like right at that secret height level to where it goes into the next mugs. But man, that mug, that's two different molds.
Yeah, because you've got the barrel, right? And you've got this guy, and I assume you just like, did you cut the bottom off and then, you know,
we seal it up there, and then those all been water tested afterwards. But that yeah, man, there's some work that goes. There's a secondary carb that goes into each one of those wooden barrels, and then there's the cleanup of the mold, and then yeah, man, there's some work in there. That's why that's two different. There's a little bit of extra work after you pull that one out. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Totally amazing.
I think that's the last one of that one we made, bro. So that's I think
really?
I think there's only, what number is that?
It's number
I can't
10, I believe.
Yeah, I think there might be 22 of those, man. I think that's an addition of 22. So that's the last of that.
Have these completely sold out at this point? People are out of luck?
Yeah, my wife will kill me when I say this. So like, I'll say, we're gonna make 25, and then I get done. I get like, you know, make 20, and you're 22, and you're done, and it's like, that's all there is of those, man, for sure. So that was the last one of that one, man. So thank you.
I love it, dude. It's gonna have a special place in my shelf here with all my other collectible tiki mugs, not on the wall because I don't trust them anymore. With that said, we are running late, so I wanna get to the nitty gritty of Pie Eyed Tikis. First of all, if someone wants to follow Pie Eyed Tikis and they want to get Pie Eyed Tiki mugs, where do they go? How can people stay connected with your art?
Thank you, man. Thank you. The best way for us is for us to hunt us down on Pie Eyed Tikis on Instagram. We have a Facebook page, but I'm never on there. My wife monitors that, but we monitor it like once a week. So if you want to talk to us, you can reach out to Pie Eyed Tikis on Instagram. We have a big cartel site right now, and there's a contact page there for us. But in about a month or two, we're going to be switching over to a new website. So yeah, there you go. We'll always put a connection point right there, bro. So that's the best place to hunt us down if you're hunting us.
That's awesome.
That's our 10-year anniversary right there, dude. That's my wife, Nellie.
I thought it was your birthday because I saw the comments. You were like, "Happy!" Is your birthday and your anniversary the same month?
The 24th is our 10-year anniversary, and 25th was my 52nd birthday, dude. You group it together, you always remember, brother. It's always. But
there you go.
That's New Smyrna Beach right there.
Congratulations.
We're rocking New Smyrna Beach, man.
Cheers, buddy. So that is Pie_Eyed_Tikis.
Yeah, brother.
Pie Eyed Tikis. Let's talk about it. Where did the name come from?
Great question, man. We used to be. I even had a better moniker. We used to be called Jive Ass Tiki back in 2015. My buddy that I used to work with named Shane Bow came up with it. So when we switched from earthenware over to stoneware, kind of wanted to come up with a new moniker, and was watching From Here to Eternity. It's like a black and white movie about World War II.
Okay.
And the lady that's laying in the surf with it's an iconic scene. She leaves the beach, she goes to a naval party, and she's hammered, she's drunk, and one of the Navy guys comes up. Don't worry about her, she's pie-eyed. And it's just an ancient slang for being inebriated. So there you go, brother. Somebody's rocking the.
Look at that.
You got some skills on the backside of this, man. And that's where that comes from. So Pie Eyed Tikis, but it was just looking to change a moniker. Happened to watch a movie the same day. It was Kismet, man.
There's actually a huge connection between Hollywood, cinema, movies, and tiki culture and the tiki industry. We talked a little bit about it last year with Sven Kirsten. You can go back and watch the video.
For sure.
13 Nights of Tiki Frights, Sven Kirsten. But yeah, it's crazy how much of a connection there is between Hollywood movies and tiki cocktails. They were popular at the same time. And Pie Eyed Tikis. I love it, man.
There's a gentleman who owns the Recon Room, and I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but man, he used to show up at the Hookie Lao, and he would do seminars or the shows like where they do little, and he would do this little presentation on old movies that had tikis in them and that tiki vibe. So I think we met him out at LA, and he said he's getting ready to design a new tiki bar. But the guy that owns the Recon Room, the guy that owns the Recon Room, great. Ron Farrell, great. Thank you so much. He's the master of old tiki movies, man. He'll reach out. That guy got the knowledge, man.
All right, buddy. We're getting towards the end. Your mug drops. Some people do mugs differently. Sometimes they announce it on Instagram. Sometimes they just post it throughout the day. What's your style in releasing tiki mugs? If someone wants to grab a Pie-Eyed Tiki mug, what's the strat?
We sometimes we announce that we're dropping them. Like if it's a new mug, we'll be like, hey, it'll usually be on 5 p.m. Eastern on Sundays. Gives people they're coming down from the home from the weekend adventures. It gives them time to come home and catch the drop. Sometimes when we pull mugs out of the kiln, I'll post it on Instagram if there's like 5 or 6 of them. We're all over the place, man. I wish we had we'd probably be better if we had a set plan. We're a little bit all over the place, man.
That's okay though. That just means people have to stalk your website.
that way.
Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't.
Ah, man, yeah.
Like me, I was excited. I didn't know there was a drop. I just happened to log on your website and got this bad boy.
Dude, that was the last of that barrel in Chester, man. Wow.
And for those watching, it's not for sale, so you can't get it. All right, buddy. All right, let's talk about Jeremy Harger says the zombie cocktail was inspired from the old Hollywood movies. There you go. Jeremy. I want to give a quick shout out to all the sponsors. Obviously, Pie Eyed Tikis, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us, brother. Thank you so much.
We are sponsored by Plantation Rum.
Dude.
Guys, Plantation Rum. We have 13 cocktails that we prepare every year by Andy from Mixing Up Tiki. You can follow him on Instagram at Mixing Up Tiki. But more importantly, give him a subscribe on YouTube because that's where he gets paid. And Plantation Rum, thank you so much for sponsoring this event. Once again, all 13 cocktails use Plantation Rum. We're also sponsored by Tiki Farm. Tiki Farm is going to be our guest tomorrow night, Holden Westland. I mean, not tomorrow, Tuesday night, October 3rd, Holden Westland Tiki Farm. Same time, 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern. We also have a giveaway. this giveaway right here. The
Wow.
Professor Price Tiki mug. This was officially endorsed by the Vincent Price estate, and it was made by our buddy who showed up earlier, Jeremy Harker, amazing person in Arizona who designs super cool mugs. He used to work for Loot Crate. Now he's designing sick tiki mugs, officially licensed from the Vincent Price estate. We're super stoked to be giving this away. However, if you are not lucky enough to win the giveaway, because inevitably people get upset, people don't win the giveaway. Okay, there's going to be more giveaways. And if you're particularly sorry that you did not win the Professor Price Tiki mug, they are available on sale now. They just went on sale yesterday at tikimaniacs.com. So you can pick up a Professor Price Tiki mug for your collection if you're unlucky tonight at tikimaniacs.com. And then you can enter the new giveaway for tomorrow. With that said, I don't know. What do you think? Should we announce the winner of the mug?
Dude, that's amazing mug, brother. That's amazing.
Let's do a little highlight reel, and then we're going to announce the winner. So stay tuned here, guys. And the winner is, drumroll, Jason Pie Eyed Tikis, Kurt Laidlaw. Congratulations, Kurt Laidlaw. You have won the Professor Price Tiki mug. Please email me at admin@searchfortiki.com within 14 days to claim your prize. Once again, the winner is Kurt Laidlaw. We're going to have a new giveaway tomorrow, and there's going to be a total of 13 giveaways, and we've got a new guest coming on October 3rd, Holden Westland from Tiki Farm. Please tune in. Please subscribe to Pie Eyed Tikis on Instagram, and you're going to have to hunt that website periodically to try and get one of those mugs, but they're worth it. I guarantee they are worth it. And with that said, dude, thank you so much for joining us. You're the first guest this year, season 4, 13 Nights of Tiki Frights. It's been an absolute pleasure having you.
Thank you so much, brother. Thank you so much for all you do, Gabe. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers, guys. We'll see you in a couple days.